It's week 11 in the NFL, and we've got fantasy questions, such as, with the Eagles and Packers facing off, will there be any points left over for the other teams to score?
Will the Patriots be able to derail the Andrew Luck Express, or is it the Colts that will stop the Tom Brady bride wagon?
Brian Hoyer versus Ryan Mallett. Who wins the battle of the Brady backups?
And Steelers at Titans. There's something else to watch on Monday night, right?
All these questions and more answered on this week's Fantasy War Room live to tape.
Real tomato ketchup, Eddie.
What are you doing to honor veterans this week?
Boy, you know, the Facebook posts feels very shallow.
Sure.
Very easy. Then there's the whole, just walk up to them and shake their hands and say thank you for your service. It still feels like it's kind of easy. So anytime I encounter one in any sort of retail space, preferably where there are consumables, it's on me.
You're like Starbucks. I've got your tall drip coffee, sir.
Except my tall drip coffee is usually served like 2 ounces at a time in a rocks glass, 16 ounces at a time, or with fries.
I like that.
Least I could do, because I am a giant pussy, so the least I could do for somebody who is braver than me.
In a nationwide poll of one, I found that veterans find that the biggest thing that they need is more brown liquor. So if you're out there buying whiskey for veterans, speaking from this exhaustive poll I did of myself, that is an excellent move.
It's so funny. I take an exhaustive poll of myself usually twice a day. If I'm home on a Saturday or a Sunday and the wife and kid are gone, whoa, watch out. We got a morning, noon, and nighter.
Wow. We got blue real early this time. This is the War Room. We're actually going to talk about fantasy football today, and like we do every week. So shall we just go ahead and get into things, or do you have other things that you want to address?
Support your veterans. Treat them to brown wine.
Sure.
And I find this week to be extremely interesting because at week 11, I do believe the buys wrap up now, correct?
I think we have week 12 as well. We've got week 11, we've got Dallas, Jacksonville, the Jets, and the Ravens on
We're past the super buys, which is good. Now we're down to the 4s. There might be only 2 next week if there are any left. But now a lot of people, if you're like 3-7, you can kind of call it a season.
Yep.
If you're 2-8, done. 1-9, done. 0-10, hang in there. So the people now that are tuning into the show that are really excited for advice, that need us on this wall.
Sure.
They need us on
just to like get veterans.
Yeah, just like they need this advice and our fantasy gospel more than ever. So this audience is rapt and attentive.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry because
you are going to be disappointed.
I got to tell you though, when we get into hour 3, favorite pizza toppings? Like you don't think we could do an hour on favorite snack crackers, best potato chips, and pizza toppings?
Easily.
Easily.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. Let's start with quarterbacks first.
Let's go with quarterbacks first. I will say this week, the rankings were prepared. There were dueling chefs in the kitchen. I got half the rankings done, but due to some other pressing needs, Fantasy Bot took over.
All right, so Fantasy Bot did the quarterback rankings, or is that you?
No, that was good old...
The old Nick Stevens special.
Sham Stevens over here.
All right, so Peyton Manning is number 1. He's at St. Louis. What a weird matchup. I feel like the Rams and Broncos never really play ever and shouldn't.
I mean, I know both the West has to play the West once every 4 years, and this is going to happen, but Peyton Manning and the Broncos at the Rams just doesn't really...
It's not a matchup that I ever...
Rich person shopping at Walmart.
Yeah, it is. It
doesn't make any sense.
It definitely... And meanwhile, somewhere there's a panhandler on somebody's yacht. Yeah,
right,
it's
like Donald Trump at Applebee's.
It's... The Broncos walk into the Edward Jones Stadium, or Dome, or whatever they call it now. Yeah. And I feel like they're like a really classy lady walking into a dirty bar and be like, "Lady, you shouldn't be here."
Yeah. Just, it's a bunch of quints from Jaws, and like they come in, so like, and then someone takes off the fur, and they're like, "I'll have a martini, extra dry," and they're like, "We don't serve that here." Or just the bartender reaches over, whoosh, shut up.
Well, you know how before the show we were like, we're gonna make it a tight, fast show this time.
And we've already talked about a salty fisherman reaching across the bar and slapping a rich woman.
We got one player in.
Hold on
before.
1 second.
This went wildly
I've been
off the rails.
suspended mid-show? I should walk away right now. Got it. So that's why Peyton Manning is number 1 this week in the rankings.
Aaron Rodgers at home versus the Eagles. In the Packers' last 3 home games, they have jumped out to leads of 42-0, 45-0, and 28-0. They're pretty good at home. Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb are the leading 2 wide receivers in touchdowns.
And they're seemingly open on every play. There was a 3rd and 11 when it was already either 14-0 or 21-0. Yeah, I can't remember it. I went kind of fuzzy. And Aaron Rodgers just stepped back. 3rd and 11 is not an easy play to make, and the percentages are against you. Rodgers stepped back, and it just sort of like, he almost could have done this and just threw the ball underhanded. Jordy Nelson had 25 yards on everybody else.
The Bears went with a very controversial don't cover Jordy Nelson defense in the first half of Monday night.
Well, Lovie Smith left and took cover 1, cover 2, and cover 3 with him to Tampa, but he left cover 0.
Oh.
So the Bears ran cover 0.
I said Monday night, I meant Sunday.
So
listen, that's a great matchup. The Eagles do not cover wide receivers very well. That's a juicy one.
Kelvin Benjamin had 2 nice ones on Monday night, too, so you got to figure a big target like that is going to be it's Jordy night. But anyway, Rodgers loved it.
Let's just go ahead and cruise through the rest of the top 10. Of course, Brady versus Luck, number 3 and 4. Tom Brady, since that Monday night debacle against the Kansas City Chiefs, he's gone 18 touchdowns, just 1 interception.
It's the new 18-1 up there.
Yeah, that's not painful in any way for you.
No, why would that be? Finger in wound.
Drew Brees is rounds of the top 5. He's home versus Cincinnati. Drew Brees at home, thumbs up. A Bengals team that is in disarray. Although they have had 10 days of rest as they go into it.
The same number of completions Andy Dalton had against Cleveland.
In 33 attempts. He did not even get 11 of 33 would have been well, at least he's completing a third of his passes. Did not even get to that.
Yeah, he completed 30% of his passes.
That is not good, Nick.
Completed, and 30% of his 30% of those went to Browns. It's remarkable how bad he's gotten, and thank God they gave him $40 million guaranteed. Drew Brees did not have a good game again.
3 interceptions
at home against San Francisco.
The throw into triple coverage against Jimmy Graham.
Brutal.
Just an uncharacteristically bad decision. He also had the play of the game, dodging 2 Niners on that blitz for a touchdown pass. So yes, Brees at home. He still put up the numbers. Still had a great fantasy game.
And it's still at 4 and 5. They're in first place in the NFC South. The Gimpatorium that is that.
Can we listen as a NFC fan, centric. I'm centered on the NFC. You've got a team that's in the AFC. I really feel like the NFC South should be traded to the AFC for the AFC West.
Why don't they how about we just start, we really want to speed up our Sundays and let us concentrate on the games that are the best? Let's relegate a whole conference every year.
Or a whole division?
Whole division, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I could, this year, it would be the AFC South and the NFC South, both relegated, and they have to play their way back in next year.
Sure, although Colts fans might not be down with that, but...
Sorry.
You know what? Screw Colts fans.
No, here's me. Look at this, not caring.
Sit at home and cry in your mayonnaise. All right.
That's actually really fun. What do you have against mayonnaise? What do people have against mayonnaise? It's amazing.
It's gross. It's just food lube. Oh. It's just so you can stuff more calories down your fat throat.
Yeah, it's a meat grease, and it's an expediter, and it's also delicious. Or would you prefer if I called it by its proper name, aioli?
If you add a flavor to it, it becomes an aioli, and it's suddenly palatable to me. But just straight mayo without any kind of flavor is just give me axle grease on a sandwich that at least has flavor. Just gross.
I'm so disappointed.
Let's move on. Cam Newton, Matt Stafford, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan round out the top 10. I do not know about Cam Newton versus Atlanta. I know that Atlanta has been terrible, but Cam Newton's so banged up, sacked 9 times on Monday night.
And I started to feel, I'm like, sack number 7.
It felt like Ron Rivera had a vendetta against his quarterback. I have no idea what was going on.
Or he just wanted to turn to he just wanted to see Newton sacked as often as possible.
It was very much a stop. He's already dead sort of thing.
Yeah, it was really rough.
At number 11, Mark Sanchez. wildly underrated here. He is going to have a fine outing against the Green Bay Packers.
They have a better secondary than a rush defense, number one. Number two, yes, he's got fabulous targets to throw to. Again, like we said last week, the best he's had in his career. 337, I think, and 2 touchdowns on
No
Monday
interceptions.
night.
It's the first time he's thrown for more than 300 yards and 2 interceptions without any interceptions in his career.
And you know,
in his career,
in his
Nick.
career. And it seemed kind of likable, too. I was watching it thinking, like, look at this. Maybe he really wasn't such a D-bag. That's just the Jets effect.
Yeah, it's the Jets effect. I thoroughly enjoy Mark Sanchez. You know what? If he had had true success and was beloved in New York, he would have been a true D-back. He had to go through those rough times, had to be cast off before we could love him as an underdog.
Right. Instead of now sitting on the sidelines having a hot dog, now he can have a cheesesteak or one of those really big pretzels.
Exactly. So let's round things out. Jay Cutler at 12 against Minnesota, sure. Ryan Tannehill, a potential bounce-back week. Had a rough go of things against the Lions and their tough D. Buffalo, it's not going to be a whole lot easier. They just lost Brandon Albert, left tackle, and they're going up against maybe the best defensive line in all of football. Tannehill might get sacked a little bit.
He might, especially because Brandon Albert was the glue that was kind of the high-priced free agency glue that was holding that line together, too. But that's going to be a bounce-back week. Cutler at 12, I just got to say, if anyone is desperate enough and they have to start him, this is the last week. This is S or get off the pot week with Cutler.
I agree.
I'd be done. I mean, I'd be done with him. I don't know what your alternatives are. Alex Smith, maybe Tannehill, somebody else.
All right, rounding out the top 15, I'm in agreement with you, by the way. Colin Kaepernick against the Giants. He's at New York Giants. Tough for a West Coast team to go east for their early start.
That's true, but giving up the 5th most points to opposing quarterbacks with the Giants.
And then missing from this list is Russell Wilson, who has 300-yard rushing games and a scoring. Not getting it done through the air, but 300-yard rushing games, never carrying the ball more than 14 times in a game.
Next week, I'm not wearing a white shirt and a T-shirt. I'm just going to wear a shirt that says, I didn't put Russell Wilson on the list.
Yeah, Russell Wilson disrespecter. All right, that's quarterback rankings roundup. You have any other final thoughts?
Yeah, quick question. Do you see, with a couple of injuries, do you see any value, let's say, in like a Drew Stanton, who has looked remarkably good, though his wife is pregnant, he may be having...
had the baby. Had the baby on Monday.
Oh, wow, okay, excuse me. So sleepless nights ahead for him, or does he just like say, I don't care, I'm going to take this rookie salary, I'm going to pay a baby nurse. I am the starting quarterback for the #1 team in football, and my coach said we can win a Super Bowl with me. Do I pick him up as a little backup action?
No.
Okay.
I mean, again, if your other option is Jay Cutler, like, I don't know, I'd still rather start Cutler for at least one more week.
Look at the way what if Roethlisberger plays like that now? That game against the Jets was unbelievable.
I have no idea what happened there. That just obliterates my brain. It's one of those completely nonsensical outliers for the entire season.
How about Monday night, Roethlisberger against Mettenberger?
I give big thumbs up to Roethlisberger. Again, I have to just take that Jets game and be like, this is a freakish outlier of a game that makes no sense, and not try. If I try to read into it, it doesn't make any sense. Now, again, Roethlisberger, the 6 touchdown games are also an outlier, but that's a little bit closer to what he truly is a bomb-tossing guy who's got Martavis Bryant, Antonio Brown, and yeah, sure, Marcus Wheaton's pretty decent too. So yeah, Roethlisberger gets a thumbs up from me. Zach Mettenberger, not so much.
All right, just there we go, the battle of the burgers.
Let's move on to running backs. You've got Arian Foster at Cleveland as the #1 back this week.
This is where Fantasy Bot.
This is the Fantasy Bot.
Yes, so Fantasy Bot. And now that would seem to make sense because you've got a couple premier backs, a couple surprise backs, like you got no DeMarco Murray, no Denard Robinson, no good running backs that begin with a DE.
Yep.
And LaShawn McCoy has only scored 2 touchdowns this year.
But he scored last week.
Yeah, it was kind of a walk-in on the 1 when Brent Selleck should have gotten the touchdown.
But that's what he should be doing. He should be getting walk-ins from the 1, and that should be a
But they throw.
They're
big. They're a fast strike offense.
You know what? Some of those fast strikes are long touchdown runs, and Shady McCoy has shown time and again that he has the ability to do those.
I still think Sproles is more exciting. That's the weird part.
He's more exciting, but he's not going to have 2 touchdowns every week. He doesn't get those kind of touches.
So the problem became this week with the rankings of the running backs. Who really has the plumbest matchup? I didn't see a lot of juicy ones out there.
You know, Casey has not allowed a rushing touchdown all week. They're hosting the Seahawks this week. Marshawn Lynch has 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks.
Coming off a 4-bagger against.
And here's the thing about KC, though. It's kind of a freakish stat because they're allowing 4.5 yards per carry. Like, they're a team that you can run on, and the teams just haven't been scoring touchdowns. So I do like Marshawn Lynch this week. The Seahawks will be... I was just seeing something today that their rushing DVOA is a 37, and the next highest team is 12. Like, that's, again, that doesn't make any sense if we're not breaking down DVOA raw numbers, but they're just that committed to the run, and they need to be because they just lost Brandon Mebane, so they're going to want to keep the ball for as long as possible.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, like maybe Ahmad Bradshaw, but then the Patriots are kind of tough defensively, but Bradshaw's been really consistent.
Scores an awful. I think he's not scored in but a game this year.
Rashad Jennings is back for the Giants, but he's got a tough matchup against San Francisco, although they did lose Patrick Willis to a season-ending injury. So that leaves, Frank Gore is going up against the Giants. They just allowed 4 rushing touchdowns, just got burnt for 350 yards on the ground.
Where do we see, are we going to see is there going to be the Carlos Hyde transition, or?
It's interesting you say that because he got his touchdown on a red zone carry, I think from 8 yards out or so, and then he also got key playing time in overtime.
Yeah.
And I have to think that here's the problem: what allowed the Seahawks to run for so many yards against the Giants, aside from the Giants just being kind of bad, but like their real weakness there was the speed in the linebacking core. They didn't have speed in the linebacking core to deal with like Russell Wilson, and I would think that Hyde would be the better choice for that than Frank Gore, who's more of a patient runner and uses his vision. So I don't know. Like again, as someone who owns Carlos Hyde in several leagues, I would be all about the San Francisco 49ers making that change, but I don't know if that's what they're going to do yet.
Yeah, I still hold on to him. Don't cut him just to make room for somebody you want to pick up for the playoffs. But I don't think it's time to unleash him.
One last question about a player that's in the top 20 here, top 10 rather. Le'Veon Bell is ranked number 3 at Tennessee. How do you feel about him going against the Titans defense? Do you think the Steelers are going to be more focused on running the ball given the terrible passing performance they just had against the Jets?
They should be.
They should be.
They should be because Tennessee is just laying on a bed, smoking, watching TV, going, you can have your way with me, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
That team just doesn't offer much of anything. Look at Justin Forsett, had a great week in Baltimore.
Yeah, 20 carries, 112, 2 touchdowns. He's just been getting it down. He's now at a career high for usage. He has 133 carries now. That's more than the 114, 118 that was the highest usage totals in Seattle. And getting it done. So keep sending him up. If you got Forsett, congrats to you. I hate you. Hate you. Moving into the back half of the top 20, we've got Jamaal Charles all the way down at 11, a very rare position for him. I don't agree with that because here's the thing. Even if he's not getting the ball, if he's not getting it done on the ground, which the Seahawks without Brandon Mebane, that is the linchpin of their fantastic rushing defense. So without Brandon Mebane, and even if they are able to get a stopgap there with Jordan Hill or whoever's next up for that defensive tackle rotation, he's still going to be catching passes. So Jamaal Charles, go ahead and send him up. He's going to be fine.
I can't rationalize putting him below the top 10 any given week. I wouldn't worry. No. Yes, it's the Seattle defense, but yes, he's home, and yes, he's still Jamaal Charles.
Another player that's got a very tough rushing matchup is Andre Ellington at home against Detroit. And Detroit just a nasty, nasty line.
Lamar Miller last week against them.
Yeah. He had an injured shoulder, which didn't help his case at all.
But Ellington's getting it done. He's more of a pass catching threat than he is a running back threat.
Agreed.
Very few weeks have we seen like, whoa, look at that $125 Ellington put up on the ground.
I believe the most he's had rushing this year is 95 yards.
I don't think he's surpassed 100 yards yet this year, and this is obviously not going to be the week as well. A lot of these backs in the back end here, Steven Jackson versus Carolina. I know Carolina gives up well over 5 yards a carry, but can we really rationalize putting Steven Jackson? You know,
I think that we saw a matchup last week that's classic NFC South. By classic, I mean just this garbage year. In that I was like, oh, the Falcons and Buccaneers both have terrible defenses, and I was like, yeah, start Bobby Rainey. Yeah, let's go. I'm going to go with this matchup. Well, what I didn't take into account is that both those teams, or rather the Buccaneers especially, are inept on offense as well. And even the Falcons, while they still have usable weapons in Julio Jones and Roddy White. You also have Matt Ryan taking a hit of his on his fantasy worth because Devin Hester dropped a touchdown pass in the end zone.
That's right.
And it's just one of those things where the teams are too bad on offense in the matchup to really get use out of a terrible defense matchup. It's not the juicy Broncos Rams that you might like.
Right. You would have thought like, oh, both teams are just going to score at will. No, they're both really terrible.
Yeah.
I got a question. So as we work our way through the top 20 here with Bishop Sankey at 19, Jonathan Stewart at 20 against Atlanta again. When are we ever? I just don't see that happening. Wouldn't you want like if Ryan Matthews is back this week?
Ryan Matthews, I believe he's going to be back this week, and the Chargers.
Or if not Brandon Oliver, because he's taken on the Danny Woodhead role if he's not the feature back.
Nah, I think the Chargers are going to be eager to move on from Brandon Oliver. He had a very bad game before the bye. The Raiders present a great matchup, so that Ryan Matthews has said that he feels really good, and if he says that he feels fully recovered, I'd go ahead and set up Ryan Matthews this week. And actually, towards the bottom of the 20, Bishop Sankey at Pittsburgh. You can run on Pittsburgh. And Sean Green had 3 carries for 5 yards and a fumble at the goal line. Now, I do think that now's the time to buy on Bishop Sankey. I don't really like that Titans team. There's not much to find of worth there, but I have to think that Bishop Sankey is going to be a usable RB2/3.
All right, here comes the old Hunchy McGutt spec play of the week.
Is it going to be Jonas Gray of the Patriots?
No, Russell Wilson Byrne. It's not going to be. Although I did have him written down right there. You can run on the Colts.
Yeah.
You can.
He's the
hammer. I would be happy to start Jonas Gray too. If you're desperate for an RB2 or a little flex action.
And I am.
Jonas Gray all the way. No, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Here it comes. Here's his 3rd game of the year where he gets a bunch of cheap, crappy scores. Matt Asiata. I'm calling it.
Yeah.
This will be his 3rd. That's it. That's all you're going to get.
All right. Yeah,
he's against the Bears.
Why not?
The Bears can't stop anybody. Nothing.
Yeah. All right. I'm fine with
that.
Take it? I'll take it. Let's move on to wide receivers.
Hey.
Demaryius Thomas at St. Louis. He hasn't gotten quite the touchdown work that you might expect him. He had that one monstrous 220-plus yard game where he got in the end zone a bunch, but...
Is he sad because he kind of got slapped around in New England? Did they break him?
I don't think you can break Demaryius Thomas. I don't think that's the case.
A little front runnery.
Calvin Johnson is number 2. He's got Patrick Peterson. Who
just came off a huge game.
I don't think that Calvin Johnson really worries about which cornerback he's up against. Brent Grimes is the hottest cornerback in the NFL, and Calvin Johnson abused him on a 51-yard touchdown catch. Grimes had perfect coverage, but the fact of the matter is that Grimes
is just bigger.
He's 5'10", and
how about that pick that Grimes made in the corner, though?
Brilliant, beautiful,
airborne, one-handed action.
Yeah, no, that was just one of those things that Brent Grimes can be that good and still just be also abused by Calvin Johnson in the same game. It's got to be disheartening as a cornerback that all it takes is one play to make you look bad.
Yep, that's all it takes. But he'll still get naked people on his birthday cake.
Indeed, who doesn't? And Jordy Nelson. Again, I think that we're being unfair to Jordy Nelson.
Right.
Leads the NFL in receiving touchdowns for wide receivers, and he's got a game against Philadelphia, which has a terrible secondary. Go ahead and respect Jordy Nelson. Don't get me wrong, Demaryius Thomas and Calvin Johnson are absolute freaks who deserve respect, but I'm just going to go with a guy who actually produces every single goddamn week.
Oh, I would Randall Cobb. We have him down at 11. Fantasy bot really kind of dropped the ball on that one. Jordy Nelson, I would say I think he kind of deserves to be the number 1 receiver this week. And I know that doesn't really matter so long as he gets the points for you.
Yeah.
You could care less where he was ranked. But he is producing at the most elite of levels right now.
Listen, the top 10 isn't very interesting because everybody's starting Jeremy Maclin, Antonio Brown. T.Y. Hilton has been red hot recently. He's got a bit of a tougher matchup against the Aqib Talib and the Pats. Emmanuel Sanders has 6 touchdowns in his last 4 games.
And a pile of yards.
And look at that. And a matchup against the Rams. That's great. Deshaun Jackson, I think, is going to have a fantastic week against the Bucs. They can't cover anybody.
It's 2 out of every 3 games now.
Yeah. Julio Jones and A.J. Green. A.J. Green, I'm not quite so sure about. He doesn't quite look back to himself yet. But let's get into the back half of the top 20. Randall Cobb, again, disrespect. Don't disrespect him. Golden Tate, 11 catches on 13 targets in Calvin Johnson's return, over 100 yards. That's got to be very heartening if you're a Golden Tate owner.
He said that he is not an option B, that he's a 1A.
I believe
and that he got a chance. He relished the chance to be the featured #1 wide receiver when Calvin Johnson was out. So he got his big boy pants back on, and he's in a more pass-centric offense, which seems to work for him because obviously it was who's the open guy or let's hand it off to Lynch in Seattle. So he's thriving here, and obviously with Peterson and possibly safety coverage rolling over Calvin Johnson, he should eat this up. I'm also calling the upset this week.
Lions
Detroit.
over.
I think Lions are going to win.
Oh, you're that's so brave of you to bet against Drew Stanton.
It's still in Arizona.
Yeah, I'm with you. I take the Lions.
Drew Stanton, he's a Michigan State guy. You know, he wants to show it up against Detroit.
Nah.
Come on.
Larry Fitzgerald, career resurgence. Welcome back to you, sir. Martavis Bryant didn't even suit up the first 6 games of the year. Now he has 6 touchdowns in his last 4 games.
And a great junkyard garbage time touchdown.
80 yards in garbage time. You know what? As a fantasy owner, I'll take it.
You know what they say in terms of wins and losses? Ugly is not a stat, and at the end of the day, nobody cares how you got the points. It's just that you got them. Kelvin Benjamin, for example.
Kelvin Benjamin, another garbage time touchdown, but 70 yards and 2 TDs, right?
Yep.
Yeah, on 3 catches, which is, man.
Yeah, his touchdown to catch ratio is spectacular this season.
Agreed.
And it's only going to get better.
Mike Evans. Couple of nice weeks now, and 7 catches for 120 plus, 2 touchdowns.
Scored 3 of his last 4 weeks, taking all the thunder away from Vincent Jackson. Not really sure why.
Vincent Jackson is still getting the most he's being targeted more. Evans who's finding his way into the end zone.
Anquan Bolden, I snagged him off waivers last week in one of my leagues for nothing.
And just getting it done.
Small potatoes.
Most reliable receiver on that Niners offense.
Getting it done. Averaging almost 10 targets a week. Vernon Davis, just a complete pile of
1 catch for 8 yards on 4 targets last week.
Doesn't look like he's even invested.
Hasn't scored in 2 months, basically.
And if Crabtree had not caught that miracle 51-yard 4th and 10 pass from Kaepernick, his last Sunday would have been a complete bust too. Bolden's becoming he's a solid WR2 now.
Let's talk about, because Alshon Jeffrey is here at number 20 versus Minnesota. I'll tell you who I like more than Alshon Jeffrey this week is a lot of guys. The Bears I'm down on. How about Jordan Matthews? Jordan Matthews emerged. He and Mark Sanchez clearly had a rapport in the preseason. Now that Sanchez is back, boom, 7 for 138, 2 touchdowns, and I like him against the Packers too.
What if that's his guy? Because a lot of times when the backup quarterback gets in and becomes the starter, he's looking for his guys that he was playing with on the B team because Riley Cooper and Jeremy Maclin were running with the A team.
We were pushing Jordan Matthews ahead of Riley Cooper weeks ago, and it's good to see that that's come to fruition.
Yeah, Riley Cooper didn't have anything nice to say about that. I'll give you a couple other people that I would put ahead of Alshon Jeffrey because I am dumping the Bears. Done with them. Shoot them all. Put them in the cave. The Bears are done. How about the Colts? They had 51 points put up on them in Pittsburgh, and Tom Brady, who's the hottest quarterback in the NFL, is coming in. Brandon LaFell was 11 for 11 with 124 yards and a touchdown against Denver. Julian Edelman had himself a big week. How about Roddy White?
How about it?
Healthy.
Had himself
catching passes.
Again, playing the Buccaneers will after a bye week will make you look that good. My one concern, I'm definitely thumbs up on Edelman. My one concern about Brandon LaFell is if he pulls duty against Vontae Davis.
Who gets Vontae Davis? Would you put Vontae Davis on Gronk?
I would, but again, I'm not Chuck Pagano either. So. I would think that's the best use of Vontae Davis, who's absolutely key to that team's defense. But so I would be a little bit worried about LaFell, but I'd still take him over Alshon Jeffrey this week. Man, what is happening with this season? Get away from the Bears.
How about Greg Jennings?
Greg Jennings back. Yeah, he's been getting it done. Nothing, not getting in the end zone.
That's
but
Teddy Bridge. Do we have a name for him yet?
No.
Like one of those annoying names. I hate those, by the way.
T Bridge.
Well, it started with A-Rod. Because now, people call Vincent Jackson V-Jax. No, that's the name of like a superhero or like a kid's cartoon.
V-Jax sounds like a disease.
V-Jax.
Yeah, it sounds like no thanks.
I hate those.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we're just gonna.
I'm in agreement.
Like Alshon Jeffrey, A-Jeff, Al-Jeff.
Yeah, whatever happened to good nicknames like Crazy Legs?
Yeah, or just like the Murderer.
Yeah, the Axe Murderer. Because they're so much better. Like I don't just need
Martavis, the Murder Person Bryant.
Marbry. Yeah. No, I don't need. I can shorten names on my own. I don't need. That's not creative. Give me something that's paints a picture.
Anquan, Hold'em, Roll 'em and bold 'em.
Oh, you just turned into Chris Berman.
Oh, Odell Samuel Beckham.
No, I don't.
What's wrong?
No. That's wide receivers. Let's move on to tight ends.
Ooh.
Rob Gronkowski is the hands down number one.
Now, see, there's a great nickname, Gronk. There's a great.
We just said that we don't like the shortening of names.
No, but that would be if we called him Argron.
It is actually Gronk is a nice bit of onomatopoeia for what we expect out of Gronk.
Also, that's exactly what he is. Like, what is that? Oh, that's a Gronk.
That's the Gronk, and it's the gigantic fraternity brother slamming beers.
Yeah, release the Gronk.
Anyway, he's a great play at Indianapolis. Julius Thomas, likewise at St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. Back in action last week, finally getting back to form. Not just being a red zone target, but being
Speaking
an
of which,
all-field.
add Jimmy Graham to that. 2 touchdowns despite being injured, 100 yards. Would have had a 3rd touchdown.
If the refs actually didn't call it like it was a 21st century game, which is lame, and just let him play. I didn't think, come on, what's a little...
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a flop cell in that too.
A little bit of that. That was the F and U kind of football that guy was playing in the end.
Yeah. Greg Olsen, the number 4, he's got a sweet matchup versus the Falcons. They can't cover tight ends. And then Antonio Gates all the way down at number 5. He's been a solid play all season long.
But the top 5 are stacked.
Yeah, the top 5. We actually have some depth at the position that we've not seen in recent years.
And what do you think about number 6, who you told us to pick up and start on a whim a couple weeks ago against your Seahawks?
He's been also got in the end zone last week
done.
too. He's Mr. Garbage Time touchdown. Not fast, not that strong, but gets Derek Carr's attention in when the game's out of a hand. So
he's there.
I will say he's a decent pickup and play, but the Raiders have a murderous schedule that you're just going to have to hope that he keeps on picking up those garbage time touchdowns because.
Michael Rivera, if I can, it's taken me a while to draw a really good sort of food comparison this week, but he is a frozen burrito with just a little bit of frostbite on it. You know what? When you're home, you're like, all my favorite. I can't. I need something to eat. Like, hey,
Frozen burrito.
It's not. It doesn't look that bad.
Like it's not as good as a fresh burrito, but it's still a burrito. There's still
I don't have
beans
to go
and
out
cheese.
and get it.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Michael Rivera.
Just a little frostbite.
Travis Kelce as I don't even own Travis Kelce in more than one league, but I'm mad. I'm mad at Andy Reid because he is such a good player and he's only getting out there like 50% of snaps.
I know, he's fast too.
He's fast, he's big.
Deploy him, get creative with him. I believe Alex Smith still doesn't have a touchdown to a wide receiver.
Correct.
It's the 11th week of the season.
It feels like that's no longer just an accident. This is almost by design.
This is the game plan now.
They're like, hey, wide receiver. Like, how depressing are wide receiver meetings in Kansas City?
Oh.
Hey guys, I guess we should just.
Cormac McCarthy keeps the minutes of them. They're so depressing. Do you think Andy Reid and whoever the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs is, I don't know. Used to be Al Saunders. They don't have one.
No.
That was a long time ago. So do you think they were just like drinking like a case of hams or something? And one night they're just like, I'll make you a bet.
Were they drinking a case of hams, as in Andy Reid liquidates ham?
Well, that's how it
drinks
goes. Because hams is a great beer, like Chicago area Midwestern crappy beer.
Just
and
roll
Andy
it.
Reid just drinks a case of ham.
That's ham water. That's good stuff.
Oh, you know what? That's it, guys. You'll thank us later. This Christmas, everyone at their parties is going to be making ham teenies. So what you do is you get one of those canned hams. You take the ham.
Just gin and ham water. A little olive garnish, and you're all set.
Oh, I guarantee you it would be delicious.
Olive and a little square of Spam. And it'll just be
a little cheese.
Sure. Yeah. No,
Okay.
Delicious.
Yeah. So anyway, they should probably throw the ball to the wide receiver more there, but they won't.
Kyle Rudolph back. Back from sports hernia surgery.
Now, if you get the same injury but you're not playing sports, what do they call it?
Non-sports hernia?
Is it any different?
I don't even know what a sports hernia is. Somebody explained it to me a couple times, and it's one of those things. It's like asking how does cricket work?
Right.
You know, and I'm just like, and then they're the bowler and the wickets, and I'm just like zoning out. It's like somebody trying to explain like my 401k or anything that is super important, and I'm just like, sorry, what?
I'd love to be able to build my own website. Oh, here's how you do basic HTML. Mm-hmm. And all I just hear is like, bark, bark, bark. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Why would I go to an accountant? Show me how to do my own taxes? Meow. Woof, woof. Touchdown. Just absolutely nothing at all. Kyle Rudolph, great play and owned in less than 50% of leagues, too. I don't know, I'm sure. Was he on Keeper's waiver this week?
He is, actually.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. And I do think he's a great pickup, especially with the Bears. That defense is just, whew, man.
And Norvell Turner likes, I will call him by his proper name, thank you. Mm-hmm. Norvell Industries enjoys employing the tight end, and now that he's got his good one back.
And what, as a rookie quarterback, what could you possibly like better than a tight end hanging out in the middle of the field to be there as your safety blanket?
Just a giant human to throw the ball to.
That's what I'd be looking at if I were a rookie quarterback.
Let me throw a couple of sleepers your way.
Sleepers!
Tight sleepers. One, do we know Jordan Cameron?
Oh, he of the concussion.
Yes. Is he going to be working his way back? And if so,
I don't know. I've cut bait on Jordan Cameron. I don't.
It is a disappointing year after a huge year last year.
Yeah. No. I have seen nothing from him that gives me any hope that it's going to be any better. Like at least Michael Rivera. There's some flashes that give me like, oh, this is good, a worthwhile play. Travis Kelce, he has a great game. He just needs to get some more targets, some more time on the field. Charles Clay, same thing. He's done really well. He's a viable red zone option. And there's nothing. Even Zach Ertz, he's getting deep passes thrown to him. He just one completion away from him.
But he hasn't produced in a huge way in a while. And
but at least
Brent Selleck was a bigger tight end, was a better option Monday night, surprisingly.
Well, but that's the thing. At least they're throwing to tight ends. And at least that's an offense that I can have faith in. As the Browns, ugh.
I know.
Yeah.
So weird. They're 6-3, and they've not had one signature offensive firepower game.
I take Jordan Cameron over Vernon Davis. I'll tell you that much.
I'll tell you who else we slept on in wide receivers. A little revisionist history right here.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon's back.
Not until week 12.
Next week.
Yeah, next week.
I just wanted to let you know that next week.
Yeah.
This will be me 168 hours from now. Josh Gordon.
We can edit this part out, right?
Yep. Kobe Fleener was the other one I wanted to ask about.
Oh, Kobe Fleener. You tell me. Do the Pats guard against tight ends well?
Not terribly well.
All right. So yeah, I'd play Kobe Fleener.
Would you play him and Dwayne Allen? D-Well.
I don't know. I think that basically the way that I've owned both Dwight Allen and Kobe Fleener in the past, and the way that I've always done it is that, not at the same time, mind you, but whoever I've trotted out there, the other guy has scored a touchdown.
Every
goddamn time.
So if you think it's Kobe Fleener time because he had a great game against the Giants 2 weeks ago, it'll be Dwalin time.
Yeah, no, there's no rhyme or reason there. Even after Dwayne Allen had a season-ending ACL tear or whatever the season-ending injury he had last year, and you're like, oh, it's Kobe Fleener time. He's gonna have amazing. Nope.
They were Stanford buddies. Come on, he used to throw luck to Fleener.
Nope. It makes no sense.
And then Reggie Wayne went down with an ACL of his own.
And you're like, Kobe Fleener's really gonna get it.
Here comes Co-Flea.
Nope. And now that Dwayne Allen's back, now that Reggie Wayne's back, Kobe Fleener actually has some value again.
I don't get it.
That's why the Colts really bug me a little bit.
Well, Kobe Fleener. I mean, if there was a portion of the show dedicated to snap out of it / what's wrong with you, Kobe Fleener would be one of those guys because he's just consistently infuriating.
I agree. Well, I think that's about it for tight ends.
Oh.
Defense and special teams, number one here at the top of the rankings, Miami Dolphins. Ahead of the Lions.
They are the two highest scoring defenses in fantasy football, and they matched up last week, and it was a pretty excellent matchup.
It really was. Also, the Bills are right behind him. Marcel Darius.
Is that what he prefers?
Yeah, it was Darius. Everybody said Darius when he was in college, and then he came to the pros, and it's like, actually, it's Darius.
Oh.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Marcel.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Darius, you're wanted on the D-line.
Yeah, he's just trying to get people to call him Mr. Darcy.
Yeah, it's quarterback Kyle. Actually, it's Orton.
Yeah, I do like the Dolphins up against that Mr. Orton because as as reliable as Kyle Orton has been for the most part this year.
Not last week. He finally went back to Kyle Orton.
Yeah, against a tough defense like the Dolphins, I'll take that.
And on the short turnaround, too.
Yeah, and on a short turnaround. 3 Bills, 4 Broncos at the Rams. The Cardinals take up the 5 spot versus Detroit. You've got a potentially error-prone quarterback in Matthew Stafford. And some fumble issues, too, with those Lions.
They do. Well, Stafford's been better at protecting the ball. That pick that Grimes made was just otherworldly. Otherwise, he wasn't nearly as bad as he's been. I think Detroit's going to, if Drew Stanton is pressing this week, they really, having them could be a sweet, sweet deal.
I do think the Lions are a fantastic play.
All right, as we make our way through the Washington football team, Pittsburgh, Niners against the Giants.
Chargers versus Oakland is a great play.
Mm-hmm. Great play. They had a week to rest, get over everything that ailed them after that butt whipping down in Miami. So do we get to the backside? The Browns versus Houston.
The Browns are actually my favorite start of the week.
Up.
Ryan Mallett's first career start on the road. You have he's had 4 years in the NFL, so it's not like he's just some rookie quarterback.
And he's thrown how many passes in the NFL?
4 career passes, and he's only completed one of those, by the way.
Right. 4 years, 4 passes. It's the Brady backup bowl, and you've got Mike Pettin and his resurgent Cleveland Browns offense with 10 days rest against
Fresh
Ryan
off
Mallett.
of holding the Bengals to 3 points at home. I like the Browns a lot.
You do the math.
They're a top 5 defense for me this week.
Oh, big time. Totally. And I'll tell you, I don't think the Patriots defense should be out of the top 25. Because while they still did let Peyton Manning at home throw for 438 yards, they limited the greatest show on turf, 2K14, to 21 points. Picked him a couple times, got a sack. There's far less of an offensive line in Indianapolis, and we know that Andy Luck throws at least 1, or not, if not 2, head-scratching picks a game.
Get this. In 2 career games against the Patriots, Andrew Luck has thrown 7 interceptions. So I think that's a very good call.
Law of average says he'll throw 3.5 Sunday night.
Yep, that's fact. I'll give you one more sleeper play that's not a top 15 here, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dick LeBeau has a way against rookie quarterbacks. They're number 8. Oh, well, I missed them there.
Yes.
But
just
still.
want to say, I'm just pointing to say I agree with you.
Oh,
I am
fantastic.
reinforcing that because, again, the old Mettenberger is just going to be a big pile of slop.
Yeah.
It's not going to. It's just that if any team could just say, like, tell you what, we give you the season. You can have all your wins. We're just going to go start now working on next year because we don't know who or what we are.
Yeah, we're just going to play Zach Mettenberger and Bishop Sankey, and we're just going to chuck it around.
They suck.
They really do.
I don't just go that blunt about it.
And their tight end just had a concussion in the last game. He's
Poor
questionable.
Delaney Walker.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you what's not questionable. That being the end of our player rankings.
That really is. That was silky smooth. That was silky smooth.
The Brady ride wagon. will not be derailed.
Let's go to reader questions. We got a couple
Good
minutes.
ones?
Yeah, I think we've got some good ones.
And some good hypotheticals that we have as well for anyone who is entertaining trades or making some big moves because most leagues have their trade deadline coming up this week. Usually I think it's like the Thursday or Friday before week 11 is when the kibosh is put on trades. So
Intriguing.
Okay.
All right. Our friend Ryan Reel says, is Sanchez for real? And is Russell Wilson slumping passing-wise, or is this how it's going to be? So first of all, is Sanchez for real?
I'll take Sanchez.
You and I were both in believers in Mark Sanchez last week, which sounds crazy that there were 2 people in agreement on something like that, but it's true. And he is for real.
And now he's getting picked up, and people are starting to show faith in him, and that was a much juicier matchup. I don't see his numbers as great against the Packers. He's going to have to throw more. Don't be surprised if there are 2 picks mixed in with, let's say, 3 touchdowns this week.
I would say, 300 yards, three touchdowns, 2 picks.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'll take 18 to 20 points from the Sanchez.
I would not be surprised if the Packers-Eagles game is something like 48-37. I think we're going to see the over/under is only like 56.5 on that game, and I really think it's going to be a shootout.
Oh, I might be going to the Western Union.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in on that.
I like that over.
That's a high scoring game. So the Sanchez is for real, and he's got some nice matchups coming up too, especially in week 12. However, Russell Wilson, I don't know. There's not, you know what? There's not a premier target.
That's we were talking about Golden Tate earlier, and his departure actually really has affected that offense, in that his accuracy on deep balls has really has gone down this year.
He missed. Curse had 8 yards on somebody Sunday, and he missed him by 5 yards.
He used to have a really accurate deep ball, and this year it hasn't been. He had 8.2 yards per attempt last year, down to 7.2 this year, because he's not connecting on those deep balls. However, he's rushing the ball so much better that the Seahawks are letting him keep it on zone reads. 300-yard games, and I think 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns this year, and that goes a long way to ameliorating. If your quarterback is getting 16 points just in the rushing game,
right?
I don't really have a problem with him only throwing for 100 yards.
Points is points. You know what they said, like in Muppets Take Manhattan. Peoples is peoples. You know, points is points.
That is an excellent reference to Muppets Take Manhattan.
Is that the first time Muppets Take Manhattan has ever been? You know, pig is pig. Peoples is peoples.
Yes. Let's not dwell on it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a brighter future for Seattle's passing game until they get some more talent through the draft. But
Vincent Jackson would have been a nice chip for them to pick up. At
it would have been nice. I mean, Jermaine Kearse is a work in progress. Ricardo Lockett is a situational guy with lots of speed, but. Doesn't get on the field a lot. Doug Baldwin is a useful, he's a useful like reliable receiver, but not really the guy you want as your wide receiver one. So I think that's going to continue, especially until they get Luke Wilson and Zach Miller healthy, just to round out the variety. Because it's not like Zach Miller is going to really blow up the passing game for them, but he's their best blocking tight end, giving Russell Wilson a little bit more time. They've had some protection issues. I think that it's probably going to get a little bit better, but not to the point that you're going to be like, oh, finally, Russell Wilson 300-yard passing games. No.
Doug Baldwin, Toyota Camry. You know, get you places, fine. Hey, Toyota, let's go places.
Not going to win a drag race.
And no one's going to be like, whoa, check that out. So I'm saying I'm a little more. If I had to pick between the two, I'd probably end up starting Sanchez more often than Russell Wilson the rest of the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Munzie wants to know, I'm loaded at wide receiver, Megatron, Green, Watkins, Gordon, but my running backs are trash. Who would you put on the trade block? Megatron, A.J. Green, Sammy Watkins, or Josh Gordon?
If it's a keeper league, you can't trade Watkins, especially depending on where you drafted him. But I would not trade Megatron because this is a Lions team that's, I think, headed for a playoff run, and he's only going to get better. I would see if anyone still thinks there's value in A.J. Green.
Here's the thing. I would go Josh Gordon, and I'll tell you why. It's because there's so much excitement about him, about what his season was last year.
He's so good, dude. Last year he was incredible.
He's going to show up for the playoffs, the fantasy playoffs, and even as good as he was, like the opportunity for him to disappoint, or like it's one thing when he misses the first 2 games of a season. It's another thing to miss the first 3 months of a season, and hasn't been allowed to practice with the team. I think that there's a player as fast and strong as Josh Gordon will have less rust than your average, very good fantasy player. But I just think that there are going to be people who are willing to overpay for Josh Gordon before he ever plays a down this season. And you're not going to get that kind of value for A.J. Green, who hasn't been playing well. And what you do is you trade away someone with a pretty good downside in Josh Gordon that you're like, the Calvin Johnson and Sammy Watkins, you already know are producing as stars. I would trade Josh Gordon. And
no one's going to bite on A.J. Green. But boy, I'll tell you though, if he has like a knock off the rust game, then a little bit better game, his third game is Week 14, the start of the fantasy playoffs, and Josh Gordon could carry you at that point because, last year in only 12 games had almost 2,000 yards receiving. He was out of his mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're paying to speculate on that one, but he probably is the best of the 4 to trade.
@_BVM says, dwarves or elves? Also, what's the difference between a dragon and a drake?
Dwarves or elves?
Listen, I'm not into the whole elvish, like the magic and the bow and arrows. I like burly axe wielding jerks. I'm all about the dwarves over elves.
Oh, really? Are you?
Yeah.
So you're all about dwarves because a dwarf is a couple steps away from an orc, and that's a real. So you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So see, you know who makes my cookies? Elves.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
They
go to their magic tree and they make my cookies.
That's a compelling reason. The difference between a dragon and a drake. A dragon obviously is a flying, fire-breathing lizard. A drake is a
front-running
douchebag, crappy rapper. Yeah, that's probably not the answer you were looking for, but that's the one you're getting.
It's also a different kind of fantasy. I think they were looking for the other fantasy show.
Yeah. At John_runs says, Cutler reminds me of the Scottish kicker from The Replacements, the kind of guy you don't trust. Should I not trust him as my QB?
I would not. And also, the Scottish kicker in The Replacements, since I saw it several times. A lot of boring Saturdays, a lot of hangovers that I had to work off with that movie. Also smoked on the field, and Smoking Jay Cutler is my favorite football blog, so 100%. I wouldn't trust Cutler the rest of the way. What has he done the last several weeks? He hasn't had a boss week in over a month.
True.
And there's just this team-wide malaise on that team. The second Lamar Houston's ACL snapped, it was like, we're good. See you next year.
Yeah.
We're going to go hang out with the Titans and play skee-ball.
Are you trying to tell me that Mark Trestman isn't firing that team up?
Yay.
Guys, gather round. I've got just the mathematical equation to get you excited for this game.
Hey, you hosers, come over here by the touch screen, and I'm going to show you. Guys?
Matthew Shipper wants to know, what tight ends do you like rest of schedule? Rudolph, Rivera, Kelce, Daniels, Reed, others?
Ooh. Daniel's still the primary target in Baltimore. Like that. Reed has been terrific ever since he came back from the hamstring issues, not the concussion. So he's looking up, and RG3 has got his eye on him. But we were just talking about the fact that Kyle Rudolph is one that you can pick up on the cheap and do good things with.
I have high hopes. I don't know if they're realistic hopes, but they're certainly high.
He's got a little bit of a Sammy Scatterarm or Teddy Bridgewater in there, but I do have high hopes as well.
Yeah. Ry Malahi, I think it's Ry, R-I-Y.
R-I-Y?
Yeah, unusual spelling.
I guess Rye?
Ry.
Yeah.
Is Ryan Matthews a safe start for this weekend? My other options are Jeremy Hill or Bobby Rainey. Ugh.
No to number 3.
Certainly not Bobby Rainey. I think Charles Sims might be displacing him.
Bobby Rainey is like using a condom that went through the laundry. That's a terrible idea. No, there's nothing safe about that at all.
I think that Ryan Matthews is a safe start this weekend. Even if he's not getting a full workload, I like his possibilities against a Raiders defense that doesn't defend it against the run well. Jeremy Hill, if Gio Bernard isn't healthy, I do like Jeremy Hill to start. I think that what we saw...
Plenty of room for Gore and Hyde last week against the Saints.
Yeah. So I would not be too down about Jeremy Hill, but I think Ryan Matthews is a safe start.
I like him in that order, actually. I like Matthews, Hill, and then...
Yeah. That other jackass. Yeah. Nathan Bishop wants to know, should I cry into my coffee or my soup over the Brandon Mebane injury? And I'll tell you, as a Seahawks fan, cry into whatever food stuff you have in front of you. Your soup, your coffee, tea, whiskey. Whiskey I strongly recommend. Also, don't limit it strictly to liquid foodstuffs. If you've got a nice po' boy, crunchy bread, you obviously don't want to get your bread sopping wet, but cry into whatever you got, because that is a downer for the Seahawks.
It is a downer, but between the two, if you... Two reasons you don't want to cry into your coffee. A, it doesn't taste nearly as good. Tears are salty, and soups are often savory.
Yeah.
So you could almost actually make it a little more ramen-ish if you cry into it. Then you can have soup tears.
That's a good. You're very right.
I'm thinking in a culinary capacity.
Yeah, fair enough.
Cry into the soup, and also you need coffee to start. You have to look up. Okay, the Seahawks, they're not punting on the season. They're not giving up. There's still a lot of time. There's still it's a wide open conference.
True.
You need that coffee, and you need to look at your life by the same way the Seahawks need to look at this in the post-Mebane era. You need that coffee to start every day. And the worst thing is to cry into that coffee and be like, well, I'm going to start the day here now.
Yeah, you don't want to water it down.
No.
You want stronger coffee.
Yeah.
All right. You have me sold. Cry into your soup. And then one last question. Yeah, we got time. This is a whole lot of wingdings in the Twitter character, but...
I thought those were outlawed.
He writes, Cam is probably dead. I have Austin Davis and Alex Smith on the bench. McCown's on the waiver wire, as is Orton. Help.
All right, hit me with that one more time.
Cam Newton is probably dead. Can't argue with that.
He hurts a lot.
I have Austin Davis and Alex Smith on the bench. McCown's on the waiver wire, as is Orton. Now, Orton has got a rough matchup against the Dolphins, so don't get Kyle Orton. McCown is against the Redskins. But I don't know.
He's got 3 6'5" targets to throw the ball to. Austin, Serafina, Jasmine Pants, Serafina Jenkins.
Pants, that's right.
He caught a touchdown last week. Mike Evans had a couple. I still got Vincent Jackson there. Dump offs to Sims and Rainey. I'll take him over Orton.
Yeah.
I'll definitely take him over the other previously
Alex Smith has got a tough matchup against the Seahawks.
No touchdowns to wide receiver. It's dump it off to.
Don't start Alex Smith.
No.
I actually don't hate Austin Davis against the Broncos because you know they're going to have to throw it throughout the second half when they're behind 3 touchdowns.
They still don't. The most you're going to see is 252 and 2.
Yeah, you're probably
14
He's
points.
actually had a couple decent games.
Decent-ish.
But I'm with you. I think Josh McCown's the right play.
Yeah, I would rather wear. Josh McCown is dirty jeans, and I would rather wear dirty jeans than clean pleated khakis.
I'm with you on that.
That's Austin Davis to me. Clean pleated khakis. I'll do dirty jeans any day of the week.
Dirty Jeans McCown.
Dirty jeans welcome in McCown Town.
I like that a lot. Folks, that is all for this week's War Room. Do go out there, set your lineups, make the trades that you got to make.
And be wary. It's probably time to start considering if your team has been losing, if you're out of the playoffs, it might be the time to consider, like I've been seeing in my league, Matt may see in his, and you may see in yours, that people are going to, if you're on your way up, they may start offering you players that you can't hold on to for some of your keeper bait as well. So this is a worthy consideration. Who do I need for now versus what part of my future can I mortgage to get the job done now?
I'm all about mortgaging my future.
That's what we're here for. Tweet at us, bros.
I'm at Matt Ufford. He's at Ahoy Nick Stevens. And hit us up on Twitter. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us one of those little thumbs ups. That's something nice. And hit us up in the comments of either SB Nation or YouTube. We'll do what we can to answer your questions. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.